Committee, and Melange, I warmly welcome each one of you to today's thought-provoking discussion. The event will be live streamed on YouTube. We request your cooperation for seamless virtual recording. I would request all the alumni who have connected with us through YouTube to drop in their questions, if any, in the YouTube live chat box, which we will pick at the end. We are honored to present the second edition of the CEO Conclave, a premier forum that unites visionary CEOs across industries to exchange transformative insights on critical themes shaping the future of leadership and business. Today, our topic of discussion is meeting deadlines without missing life. This distinguished event is the flagship initiative of the Guest Lectures Committee in collaboration with Team Melange. Now I would request Agrima to introduce us to the distinguished panelists.
Thank you, Paris. I would like all our panelists to get onto the stage. Thank you so much.
So Rajan is running late, so maybe whenever he comes, he will join.
So our first panelist is Mr. Sanjay Guha, founder and CEO of Acquist London Realty Connect, and My Local Market app. With over 14 years of experience in sales and marketing, Mr. Guha has built high-performance teams across India. His expertise include direct marketing, private banking, and ultra-luxury real estate. Mr. Guha's leadership insights are invaluable in today's dynamic business landscape. Our second panelist is Mr. Ashok Gautam, MD and CEO of India International Bullion Exchange with over 38 years in banking and finance. Mr. Gautam has held roles at the State Bank of India, Axis Bank and IIBX Bank. He has shaped India's financial markets through his contribution to various committees and innovative strategies. Mr. Gautam's expertise is unparalleled in global markets and financial institutions. Our third panelist is Mr. Krishan Mishra, CEO of FPSB India, an accomplished leader in education and financial services. Mr. Mishra brings extensive experience in strategies and development and operations. He has been recognized as one of the top 100 leaders in education globally. Our fourth panelist is Dr. Rajan Venkatesh, CEO and Managing Director of Lakshmi Organic Industries Limited. Dr. Venkatesh joined Lakshmi Organic Industries Limited in April 2023, bringing over 2 decades of global experience in chemical industry. Prior to this role, he held leadership positions at BSF, including Senior Vice President of Care Chemicals for Asia Pacific. With a PhD in Polymer Chemistry from Irovan University of Technology, Dr. Venkatesh's expertise span business management, research and development, and strategic operations across diverse markets. We are delighted to announce that Arun Thakral sir, Professor of Practice in Finance and Lead Corporate Relations, and also the head of the Guest Lectures Committee, will be moderating today's event. I now request sir to present a traditional shawl to each of our panelists as a token of our appreciation and gratitude. This shawl is from Somaiya Kalavidya and it is hand-woven from artisans from Kutch. I would request Arun sir to say a few words about the event.
So good afternoon, everyone. So we were hoping Rajan can join, but maybe the Bombay traffic and I think he's meeting some deadline and missing live. Maybe he would get that live once he reaches. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's discussion. So as professional, we all face this dilemma that we have to meet deadline, and it becomes very, very crucial in today's world, because well-being is not a luxury, well-being is a necessity. So if we are missing something, and nowadays we talk about this all over. I think you have heard 70-hour and 90-hour deadlines or working per week, and that is going viral. Some people are for it, some people are against it, some people are putting up memes, but we thought that this is the right time to talk about this. And my dear friends, they are Gen Z. They have a mind of their own. Maybe whatever we think, I think they would agree, they may not agree. So before I get into asking individual questions to each one of you, let me first start with an open question. What is your sense of work-life balance? And do you think that you have to sacrifice personal life to achieve a deadline? So let's have the opening take, and then maybe I can get into individuals and maybe ask specific question about your domain and about your personal experiences and others. So we can start with Ashok.
Okay. Oh, so work-life balance. I think so. We'll probably whatever I'm saying, I don't know whether I'll see, or my daughter or my son will send, Papa, your memes are now floating around, whatever you said in Somaiya. Okay, I hope it doesn't happen that way. But when we all started, and it's ages back, right? So somebody introduced me saying 30 years. I think she just forgot. It's actually now 40 years. So, yeah, now you know my age, okay? Okay. So, when we all started, honestly, at that time, and probably today also, because there's a one question which I asked Arun, that how is the campus placement going this year? And of course, and when we all started, we were not having the campus recruitment, so we used to prepare for those competitive exams, or get lucky where if you can get picked by some renowned institution, commercial house or institution for their trainee programs, and then you start your job. But that worry was then also. So whether we'll get to work or not, or whether we'll start our own thing, become entrepreneurs, get into business. But in this whole debate of work-life balance, I don't know why they put the work before. So if they put the work before, then is it work which should be there to support your life, or because you have life, so one of the things you will do is work. So that's your call. So whenever this question, actually I also have all the young people with me working. So they always keep on saying that we have our own life, which is fine. We would like to spend some time with our family, which is again fine. But the times will come where you will be actually away from your family. You will be working in different cities. This whole piece, when we talk about the work-life balance, I just make one statement. If you like what you're doing, you will never feel stressed about that. That is point number one. Point number two. And if you are little alert that you have the family responsibilities, you have responsibilities towards your parents, you have family responsibilities. As you grow, you get married, you start your own family. The time will always come that you will be always mindful that yes, we have to take care of our family also. And like you have been taken care of. So it's not that when our parents started off, they were not working, they were working. but they were also taking care of us. The times have little changed because now it's all rush, rush, rush. My take is simple. You are blessed if you like what you are doing. But you are super blessed if you start liking whatever you get. Because if you are not into that space, you will be stressed here and you will not be able to take care of your family and enjoy your other part of the life. For people like us, when we started off, we wouldn't even know. I mean, we will be standing in ration queues, kerosene oil lines. Even to buy the milk, there will be a line, there will be a token. You can't buy more than this much of milk. You won't even know all these things. We all started from there. In our generation, and you just heard the opening comment where he talked about Doordarshan. I am little one generation behind Doordarshan where there was no Doordarshan. The only thing was the Murphy radio, you know, and the Pinaka Geet Mala, you will get to get those songs. The point is, from there till now, where we have come, you all are very blessed, this Gen Z. It's individual's call. Let me tell you, nobody can give you a prescription for anything. At your own journey, in your own journey, you have to find your own balance. And you have to find your own calling. How much you want to devote to work is your calling. How much you want to devote life outside work is your calling. But my only advice is that if you want to retain your sanity, always do what you like. Have a family which you like. Have a work which you like. If you are not able to get the work you like, please start liking the work which you have got, so that you can continue to enjoy the other part of your life. These are just my opening comments. You might be finding it a little vague what I am saying, but this is the essence of life. We have worked in various decades with new challenges all over the places. We have worked in villages, we have worked in small towns, we have worked globally across the financial capitals of the world. We have been blessed in that sense. We got the opportunity to see the smallest unit of India, a small village where we worked, to the international financial centers. But everywhere you have to find a balance, and that is your own calling. And mind you, if you just apply your mind, you will always succeed in finding the right balance between the work as well as your life.
Thank you, sir. I think it's a very apt topic, and I think this is something which is important and very pertinent considering today's scenario in the market. I've got the accounting professor sitting in front of me, and what comes to my mind is that unlike the balance sheet, which we can actually balance whenever we want, assets and liabilities, managing life and work and life together and creating a balance out of it is the most difficult part, which is very difficult for everyone. And it's a very thin line. It's a very thin line. When you cross it, you do not know, you do not have the understanding. And it happens with anyone, right? At the younger age, you might be thinking that I'm able to manage everything. It's not like that. I still remember my days during my MBA days that my professors used to send emails at night, say 11 o'clock, that 8 o'clock in the morning you have a presentation to be made, and we used to sit till say 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning to prepare. And you have seen Three Idiots, right? So our hairs used to be like this, standing like this, and we used to sit in the classroom. And then obviously you have to be learning from there. I still remember first term when we entered the MBA program, we were told that Saturdays and Sundays are off for you. And we said, wow, such a fantastic college. Like Monday to Friday only working, and then Saturdays, Sundays are off. Second term starts, and Saturdays, Sundays also we're working. Right, and obviously there were no Holi, Diwali holidays and all those things, so we forgot everything. But then that was actually preparing us towards the corporate life, that when you enter the corporate, you might see such things happening with you. That does not mean that corporates treat you like this. Okay, that does not mean that the corporates treat you like this. Corporates actually give you time. but how we create stress or this kind of a balance for our own benefit. So one is stress, second is balancing. Now, most of us, we create stress on our own. Like motivation, so for example, if I want to be motivated, nobody can force me to get motivated. It can never be extrinsic. It has to be intrinsic, from inside. Motivation is always from inside. In the similar way, the stress which comes to us, that is also from inside. Yeah, we take that stress, we create that stress. If somebody is writing to us and saying that, okay, I need a response from you on this email, we have a tendency of picking up the phone and immediately responding that, okay, I need to respond to this person. Instead of that, we might say that, okay, I have a policy of responding in 48 hours or 72 hours. I need to create that line myself. Most of the times what happens is I do not create that line. If somebody is asking me something, I'm ready to give an answer immediately. Remember one thing, that people who ask the right questions are considered to be the leader, not the people who give the right solutions. And most of the times, the leaders and the managers, you'll become managers tomorrow, you'll become leaders tomorrow. We have a tendency of going ahead and giving solutions to the problems which are coming in front of us. So practically, if you are able to stop then and there itself and create that line, I'm sure you'll be able to create a better balance for yourself. We get into this kind of a stress, this kind of a mechanism ourselves. We create it, nobody else does that. Organization is not demanding you to get into this kind of a situation wherein you get stressed. Nobody, none of the organizations want their staff to have diabetes and blood pressure and all these problems. And I know that if you do not have the right balance, you're not able to create a right balance between your asset and liabilities, your net worth comes down. In the similar way, your health worth or your wellness worth actually comes down if you are not able to manage your work and life together. And both of them are separate, as Ashokji rightly mentioned. Work is separate, life is separate. Life will give you an opportunity to work. The work will give you an opportunity to meet people. The work will give you an opportunity to be with them and create a better life for yourself. One more thing, which is really very important, is tomorrow when you go out, don't compare yourself with your friend. Okay? Everybody's journey is different. Some people will achieve things faster, some will take more time. Don't create that stress for yourself, right? So like the work-life balance, this comparison stress is another one which comes to people, and we as individuals should ensure that we are not getting into that kind of a mode. So what I wanted to say is, as an opening comment, is that practically this is something which we can manage really well. It is in our control, not in anybody else's control. Now, don't look at the organization. Don't look at your leaders that they will manage your work-life balance. No, this has to be balanced by you. As you create the balance sheet in accounting, in the similar way, your own personal life balance sheet is something which is in your hands. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Sanjay.
Thank you, panelists, and good evening, everyone. So I'll give a slightly different perspective. I think recently, we have always been hearing about this work-life balance part. I think here I will talk firstly about my journey a bit and how I have looked at the work-life balance when probably I started my career or as a student. And today, of course, I have a different perspective. So I'll just share some of these insights, with the audience here. So I think, as a student, like Krishanji rightly said, we at times when we were growing up, I think, certain deadlines were thrown at us, and of course, to prepare us for the sort of corporate pressure. I think at that point of time, we did work on those deadlines, and I would say at that point of time, it was done more out of a thing of performing a task and moving ahead in terms of the career, that, these are the checklist of things you need to do.
Welcome, Rajan. We have just started. Please take it. We're just taking opening comments. Okay. Take a breath. If you complete, then I'll. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yes, Sanjay.
From a student perspective, then, when I moved to a corporate world, from the campus placement days, I think there was no work-life balance at that point of time. But I'll take a very important takeaway from there. I think finally you need to be in a job that you love doing. So if I did not get in my first job, but from my second job onwards, I think there was a lot of involvement. So I think, in terms of that work-life balance, it was not there. But that part of my work, I think it really proved to be the foundation of whatever I'm doing. And I'll elaborate it on a bit more. So maybe at the start of your career, the perspective will slightly change. So maybe that's where, if you can actually get your true calling, maybe the initial foundation years, yes, maybe, I won't say it's all right, and I would never recommend missing out on any family occasions or, very important, but maybe, sometimes compromising on social stuff, the initial few years, maybe that will be the true foundation of, your work ethos or, whatever training or learning that you may want to incorporate in your journey. So that creates the foundation. Now after that, in the mid-management level, when you are in a decision-making level, maybe that's when you are in a position to define the culture of your team. So that's when maybe you can take a step back and do some bit of that balancing yourself in your journey and then implement. And now at this third level, now I'm in my startup journey as well as in my entrepreneurial journey. See, there are different life cycles of the organization. So at times, I'll just give you an example. So maybe my e-commerce setup, which is there. Actually, I have my team who work through and through. So even on public holidays, they have to work. So we try to balance that out. We try to give them compensatory leaves, but that's the nature of the business, because the customers won't understand the work-life balance aspect when delivery can't be made or a certain deadline can't be met. So that will reflect then badly on the company culture. So the only thing I'm saying, it's very subjective. So maybe from time to time you need to understand that perspective and logic and then work on it. See, today I think I have a kind of work-life balance, and maybe Dr. Raman would adhere to that. I today balance a lot of my sports activities, but today I'm in a position to do that. I'm in a position to compartmentalize things. But in the initial years of your career, it will depend a lot on your boss, your company's working culture, as to how these things are. Another perspective I would want to bring is, I think how we look at work and work-life balance in India is very different if you look at the European or the UK, US perspective. So again, that exposure helps. But today, if in an Indian company I try to emulate what my colleagues are doing in France, that won't work here. So I think it's very subjective, guys. But yes, I think work can't really get that insane where you start missing some very important aspects of life. Having said that, I think it's a very personal perspective, and it will sort of, you will find your own calling and logic to work on it as time progresses. So yeah.
Yeah, Sanjay, thanks. I would come back to you, all of you. So Rajan, welcome. I know you were tied up and you could make it. So we are just having the opening comment. When you look at this, what comes to your mind? That's the opening take. Not get into the details. Maybe tell us whatever comes to you.
So again, pleasure being here. Apologies for being late. I think talking about work and life, I was privileged enough that I spent 2 decades with a multinational BASF, where Raman was also associated with that, and I finished my PhD in Netherlands, and I started my career in Germany. So Sanjay spoke pretty well. So work life was actually, nobody questioned it. You had colleagues coming in very effectively, and I think the focus was output. And I think that was a big reflection for me. So, I graduated from here in India, in Mumbai, did my master's in the UK, did my PhD in Netherlands. So the focus I realized, in our country, for right or for wrong, it's the amount of effort, right? And in those societies, it is really output. And then if you really measure it from a lens of output, then work life is in your control, in a very simplistic lens. I think what was very, very close to my heart was our daughter was 2. She was born when we were in Germany, and my wife started working. So we used to stay in Mannheim, and she used to travel about an hour and a half every morning. And so then I was here with this 2-year-old, not completely clueless, thankfully. But the big plus was we used to take her to a play school. Play school used to open at 9, and it used to shut at 5 German time. So if you're not there to pick her up, she is standing on the road, right? So it then forces you to sort of prioritize. And I think that's been sort of, my take on it, right? How do you sort of focus on outcomes, and then how do you sort of prioritize to achieve that outcomes?
Thanks. So you are saying productivity not by hours of working, but the actual impact. Thank you. So I'll come back to you. So Ashok, you said either you take the work you like, or you like the work you got. So don't. So how do you manage the financial risk and stress? Because I have met some of the CEOs. They said we are CSO, the Chief Stress Officer, because some days are like that.
So I don't know, there is a very famous dialogue, I don't know whether it is attributable to Rajkumar. You know, have you heard Rajkumar name, actor, old time? वो बोलता है stress लेने की नहीं देने की चीज है. So I don't know if that is what you are attributing, that the CEO is a CSO and he gives the stress. So it's not the case. Okay.
I hope they don't take it seriously.
Yes.
They will give us more stress.
Okay. So as a CEO, ultimately what happens that things finally come to your desk, whether you like it or not. How much you empower people, and sometimes you will ensure that they do what they have to do. You know, one of my bosses taught me that, Ashok, what I don't want, you know, your monkey on my shoulders. You know, keep your monkey with you. Don't give on my shoulder. That's what everybody likes to do, you know, I mean, would like to do ultimately. Either they would like your final say yes, or they will, now it's very easy, you have those emails, so you can always CC. And assuming that, you know, everything which has gone to CEO has the concurrence or he has noted. And even in some of the public sector places, you have those files moving up to the MD or chairman level, I imagine. And we just saw one of the interviews where, I'll not take the name, but one of the very senior and ex-chairman of one of the very big banks, she mentioned that till 1:30 she'll be clearing the files. Because every file and the 2 suitcases of files will be coming. Now, it's everything is on your, you know, small phone, which is there. Again, that's why you have the thicker glasses. And so the point is very simple. What you are trying to do, please be liking it. Let's now leave that aside. I'm sure you have understood that message. The second point is regarding that stress, because Chief Stress Officer or Chief Stress Giving Officer, whatever you call it, I'll just make one point. As a CEO, it is very much imperative for us to also ensure that the general well-being of the organization. When I say organization, also, of course, the people who are there. And of course, generally, what is the sense of it? Are the people feeling stressed? Are they, you know, being cantankerous? Are they having those little fights? Or they are actually ganging up and fighting with you? Because I have worked in places where there were 3 unions in my branch, and they will fight with each other, but when they will find a common cause, they will fight with me. All 3 will come together to fight with me, right? But then we all learn, and that's each individual's journey. There is no prescription for it, you know, and you learn by observing, and that's one of the lessons which I have always got. You observe your colleagues, you observe your juniors, you observe your seniors, and you figure out what will work for you. Because when you are learning from your seniors, you get 2 sets. One set, yeah, this is what I will do, and this is what I will never do when I get into this position. That is extremely important. So I'll come back to that particular line which you are having there, deadline and all. Can I just take it to a little different angle?
Yes.
Okay, so you are all at that stage. Mercifully, hopefully, you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So how the time works? So when you are waiting for your boyfriend or girlfriend to come, how that time works? And when you are with your boyfriend and girlfriend, how the time goes? So it's all in your head. It's all relative. Please understand this. That's what I'm saying. When you are liking that work which you are doing, or any lecture, or maybe this session, if you're liking, you wouldn't realize what time it is. If you're not liking what we are saying, you'll say, okay, let's go, all get out. I mean, what is happening? So that's all, everything is related to that, whether that particular moment, are you wanting to do it. If you're wanting to do it, it's a breeze, take my word. You will find enough ways and means to handle not only your work, but also your amazing life around the work. Or maybe a separate life from the work. I'll give you one real life example. One of my bosses I can say in Axis Bank, not my direct boss, but whenever I used to interact with him, he will always say, Ashok, I have my calendar full for Saturday and Sunday. Forget about Monday to Friday when the calendar will be full. And I'll say, sir, what? And he'll say, no, Saturday, this is my poetry group. This is my painting group. This is my walking group. This is my music group. Or this is the time with the family. So he will have everything slotted. But if you have not taken care for that, you will never do it. You will suddenly find next Monday is there. So these are the things which we all learn. So observe around and take time to organize your life, whatever. See, everybody has only 24 hours. So within that 24 hours, you can do tremendous things and you can do nothing. It's your call, it's your choice, and nobody can force you to do anything. Not your boss, not your family. It's ultimately going to be your call. But when you take the wise decisions, you will find that you will create an atmosphere which will bring immense joy, no stress to your work and to your family. I always also use two words. Please always work with people who energize you. And similarly, you also energize your workspace and your family space. Don't go to that opposite word, right? That's all.
Thank you, Ashok. Well said. And you said you are a monkey on my shoulder, but it happens because if you are the CEO, the buck stops at you, and in the board, maybe you have to take the blame. Maybe I'll come back to you. Reserve your comments. Let me come to Krishan. So Krishan, another issue is maybe if you look at Gen Z, the boys and girls sitting here, when they think about work-life balance, they also talk about retiring early. They talk about retiring at 45 or 50, and they don't want to sit late also, obviously. So what to do? You have a solution?
There is no fixed solution for anyone because obviously life is such that each individual is an individual, right? And whatever we do, it has to be customized as per their requirements. Yes, Gen Z is smarter than us, and we have to accept it. Obviously, the kind of access you have to the technology and the information and the knowledge that you get, we never had those things when we were growing up. So you have more access to the knowledge. Only thing is that when it comes to retirement, and this question you have asked me about retirement, so yes, one should start planning for retirement from their first salary only when you start your careers. I think that's the right time for you to start thinking about your retirement. The only thing is that retirement is just a mindset. Right? There's no particular age to retire. We can't say 40, 45, 55, 60, it doesn't matter. Why? Because like a test match, life has got its own second innings and maybe third innings or fourth innings to be played, which is beyond the age which has been defined by the government. Don't look at the age which has been defined by the government for retirement. Retirement can be any time, whenever you want, right? If you're financially secured, you've got the right funds with you, you know that now I'm able to manage my second and third innings in future better, you can retire at that moment only. However, it's very interesting that people who think that they're retired, they don't live beyond a certain time. And in fact, there's been a lot of case studies wherein it has been proved that if somebody has got this thing in his or her mind that I'm retired now, so within the next 3 to 4 years' time, this person is no more there. And look at the politicians. At the age of 85, 90, 95 also, they can actually go and talk to 1,000 people, 10,000 people, lakhs of people, energize them. We were using energy as a word. They can energize, they can synergize with them, they can do whatever they want with the same passion. And he mentioned a very clear thing that if you can make your work as your passion, or maybe your passion as your work, I think then you can be successful anytime. And look at this, that there are a lot of people who started quite late. Have you heard about Colonel Saunders, who started KFC at the age of 63? Yeah, and there are so many such examples wherein people started quite late. I know of a very, very young model who started modeling at the age of 62. and he's one of the very famous models, right? And it can happen anytime, wherever. It's your call, right? It is an awakening call that, okay, I want to retire today. So maybe tomorrow you get an inheritance from your grandfather that, okay, you have got crores and crores of money, and now it's like you need not work anywhere. So you think that, okay, by the time I'm 30, I'll stop working. Your choice. But then at the age of 40, you find that you have lost everything, and you have to again start. Right? Have you heard about a guy called Sushil Kumar who's won the Kaun Banega Crorepati for the first time, 5 crores? The entire 5 crores is gone. He doesn't have a single penny left with him, and he could not do anything with that money. So practically, don't think that, okay, in case your bank account is full of money, you're doing well. It's like time value of money and the inflation and the taxes will take away everything, whatever you have. Right? So money kept in the bank is like practically eroding the money. So if you're thinking about your retirement, keep on working, don't stop. Professor of Practice is a fantastic example here. After his retirement from MD CEO position, and I would say that that's not the retirement. Practically, it was the age defined by the government. Don't look at that number. It is just a number. Forget that number and keep on working till your last breath, because retirement is never the end of the road. It's the start of a new highway, and we have to keep on thinking about the future. We cannot stop in between.
Well said. I think when you talk about money, there will be a lot of interest, and maybe you have to help us to plan our journey. And I'll come back to you. I have some more questions. So Sanjay, coming back to you. So you already said that you have a different life. The founders and all, because they are very passionate. People like you are very passionate. Maybe there is no Sunday, there is no Monday, and then you work for 18 hours, and then the idea taking shape. So for you, you enjoy that part sometimes obviously feel overburdened. So how is it for you? And then how you tackle it, how you handle this part? And this is first. And the second part is you are also an investor. So when you meet a founder and he tells you that I want work-life balance, whether you would like that. So it's a different word, just explain that for us.
Sir, on the first part, I want to share again, my own experience here. As recent as I would say just pre-COVID, for a period from 2017 to 19. So overall, if I look at my journey, I've launched 5 startups or incubated them. One of them sort of was an aborted attempt, and we let it go. It was office on the go. So I think in that period I just realized for about 1.5 years, because of the nature of the different businesses. My marketing business was a B2B business where it would typically be a Monday to Friday or Saturday at max kind of a session. But then my real estate business, typically the peak days would be the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I would have the teams working. So I realized for the longest time, of course, I always had my workplace close to my home. Having said that, there was a very, very long period for which I worked at a stretch, and I actually did not take any day off. I think at some point of time, I was not keeping well, and in terms of the health parameters, I was overweight also grossly, and I still am, but I sort of worked on it, started on a lot of sports. At that point of time, now I've made it mandatory. So while my teams are there, and again, I think a very important thing as a founder or as a business, we can't run it like the way earlier generations were running, me being at the center of universe for everything. So you have to let go of control. So I have my teams who are empowered. They also take their breaks. So I've also sort of tried to build the second lines for them. So I think that's how I manage. So now, essentially, and I think all my Sundays now, it's essentially, I don't work unless it's like something really very important, or some very senior person is flying out. That too is once in a blue moon. I generally tell people that I'm not available on weekends to discuss work. Saturdays, I have working Saturdays, but the Sundays completely, either social stuff or my sports assignments. But my team runs, and if they have anything, they of course reach out. So that
What assignment is a good word? I would also start telling that.
No, so I'm
That looks like a good.
So that's the first thing. Now the second question you asked.
Now you are an investor.
Yes. So as an investor, firstly I've just been an angel investor. I've been interacting with, again, startup founders come with a lot of background. So there are people nowadays fresh from college who are having some kind of idea which you need to nurture and help them with resources, funds. or it can be mid-level startups, like I am, or many of my colleagues are. So I think if someone would come to me and say, okay, I would be working, there's no work-life balance, and it's a 7-day. So ultimately, such a founder, I would probably think that they would burn out after a period of time. So I guess yes, somewhere there needs to be that semblance of balance for something to sustain in a long run. Maybe running, it's like running a marathon. You can't really sustain that forever, and make something grow to that level. So yes, if you ask me, I think I would place my bet on a founder who has, who's more balanced in that sense in terms of managing or compartmentalizing his stuff, vis-a-vis someone who would just be focusing on the work aspect and would try to impress me, saying yeah, that's his full-time focus on the work aspect only.
Great. I can relate with you because maybe little bit of what you are doing I was also doing, and that's why I also left early to focus on some businesses, and it happened because of the COVID. I ended the college, and obviously I'm enjoying that part. Thank you. Rajan, coming back to you. So you are part of a listed company and very specialized industries and lot of processes, lot of work options and all. So how you handle your day-to-day thing? What is delegation for you? How you manage time? Maybe tell us a little bit more. And whatever you are doing, just a little bit about your domain.
I think the colleagues have covered a lot of that. But let me take some of the tenets. Right? The one thing I've learned, and it's a famous saying, right? If tensions were to solve my problems, I would like to have more tension. So I think there's a deeper there's a deeper message there, right? And the second lens is none of us are indispensable. That's also, you have CEOs of companies. Something happens to me, I will be replaced by today evening because the show has to go on. So you need, and I think if you keep those things in perspective, I think life falls in place. And I think for me, having been 2 decades with a multinational, when I come into a very proud, Indian company which is 35 years young, right? You have these superhumans in this company. Because this company started off with 500 crores, 1,000 crores, 1,500 crores. It was a small core team. Today, as we speak, we're about 3,000. We are investing another 1,000 crores. Ambition is to be double of that, right? And so it was all getting nestled with specific individuals. And the lens is that, if you look at large MNCs, the way they are successful, yes, you have capable colleagues, capable professionals, but there's a lot more process systems on the back end. And I think that's the journey, as Lakshmi is at, and it's a journey, right? Secondly, you bring in people with a more larger mindset who have seen scale, who have managed complexity, rather than the here and now. And I think that's the way I'm doing it, and there is a funny joke my team tells me, at least in my previous role. All my direct reports, unfortunately I had no females reporting into me, but all the males were basically bald. But I had a good tuft of hair, so I don't know what I did right.
Great. Okay. Ashok.
Yeah. Monkey is on my shoulder now. Yes.
Monkeys. And something more on delegation and time management, your techniques.
See, again, as a CEO, and all of us will vouch for it, you can only delegate the work, but not the ultimate responsibility. That remains with you. So whatever happens, because you, in your closing comment in the previous question, you mentioned about what do you do to the board, because ultimately board is only going to ask you. And then as a leader am I throwing my people in front of them, or am I just standing by and saying, no, I take the responsibility? So as a leader, once you start doing that, then you don't have to tell anything to anyone. Because once the people get this message, okay, whatever Mr. Gautam is saying, I may like it or may not like it. He might be very tough or he may not be tough. But at least he is not throwing me to the wolves. So as long as that confidence your team has in you, things will be taken care of. But the moment they have a doubt whether, I will start finding some scapegoats and those scapegoats will go to the wolves, then it's a problem. So that is one thing, which we all learn. And you get so fortunate because that's how your bosses treated you. That's what you learned from them. And you had some really very tall examples from them when you learned. And they were running very large, complex organizations like State Bank of India. It's a very large, complex organization. And you're lucky to have those bosses who taught you things. Again, you again learn certain things. Okay, this is not to be done. But let's now come to this whole piece of this debate which is happening. 70 hours, 90 hours. It really doesn't matter. If you're liking something and you want to do it, it's perfectly fine. And you will always find reasons and ways to have a balance. This is point number one. Point number two, if you are really keen, and this point came up, the retirement. Just to tell you, I'm into this is my 6th job in that sense. And I have had 3 retirements already. And when I say retirements, actually retirements. Okay, and but you, at the ripe age of 59, I went to a startup mode where this exchange, what you're seeing, I was employee number 2. Employee number 1 was a lady officer who was looking at the admin, and she used to call me, sir, ye office ka design hai, aisa theek hai kya? Because when I was hired by the board, at that time, so I was the only one to be hired, and after that everything is created. But you will say that that is the age when you actually retire and do nothing, but it's your call. And I only say that I am actually thankful to the God and to Almighty and to whoever the powers are and were, that they gave me an opportunity to create something at this stage, this age. So it's your call. Ultimately, I was happy doing what I was doing, or maybe would have been happier not doing anything also. But right now when I am there, I find that one word which has been used here is the passion. Let the passion never go out of your life, because that's extremely important. You should be passionate about your work. You should be passionate about your life. More so, you should be passionate about your family. And at this age where you are, please be always very passionate about your parents. They have brought you here. Because this is one thing which I always keep telling, because you have your own family, and probably this lesson you will learn only when you have your kids of this age, and then how they are, interacting with you. But by then, a lot of things would have gone. So take a lesson from an older man, always. And if you have not spoken to your parents in today or last 2-3 days, pick up the phone after this and talk to them, always. And it's just one way of having that balance in your life, right? That your parents are part of it, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, spouse, children, they are all part of it. Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve, that also is part of it. Nothing is away from you, and let me tell you, nothing is outside your grasp. Retirement is not an age. Retirement is a mindset. You can be retired in the first job itself. The moment you get in and you don't like it, you just go through the motion. In my view, you are retired. You come to the lecture, you are just coming here because your parents wanted you to do an MBA, you got into Somaiya, and you are just not liking it, you are actually retired. So please take my word, let that passion always be there, and you will find that kind of things which you can achieve are unimaginable. Please go for it. Well said, okay.
Yeah, please. Yeah, you can add.
Just reflecting back, a very simple mantra we use in Lakshmi now for delegation. We put a box. I say there are topics that we discuss, we decide. We discuss, you decide. You decide and I decide. Simple. So that's the easiest way we do it, and we sort of sit as a leadership team and say, okay, maybe talent, we discuss, we decide, but CapEx decision, we discuss, I decide.
Yeah, obviously. The buck stops at you. Great. So, Krishan, no conversation is complete without technology. And now, today, AI and all that. So, how does that help? And how do you leverage technology to achieve what we are talking is work-life balance in the financial planning domain or maybe whatever in the life?
Sure. I think it's a very, very important question again. If you look at the movement from Industry 1.0 to 5.0, and this is something which is very clear across the world, scientists, everybody has researched, and what they found is that from the human effort to the use of machines, to technology, to AI and blockchain, to human emotions again. So 5.0 talks about human emotions and the human connect. So practically what has happened is technology has been changing and it is evolving. Whether we like it or not, we have to stay with that. We have to stay with it. We have to learn it and use it as a tool. It's not about you going and becoming a coder, because if you become a coder, then engineers will start doing your job. So let the engineers do their job and we do our job. That's really very important. The second thing is that when it comes to AI, for that matter, when AI came in the year 1955, people felt that AI has come and AI is actually very young, right? How many years young? 70 plus, right? So AI is very, very young in that way. But practically since 1955 to whatever AI is today, it has actually helped us make our jobs much better. Jobs have evolved. Job descriptions have become much more better, right? The aspect of we as a decision maker has grown, right? A lot of people said that, okay, AI will take over our jobs, but it's like humans taking over the creator, which is the God. We are the creator of AI. How can AI take over the human beings, right? So it will never happen because we are the ones who have feeded that information inside them. And practically, it is important for us as human beings to take the right decisions for the businesses and activities we do, right? So it's really very important. We have to learn it. We can't say that, okay, I don't know anything about technology or I'm not interested in learning technology. No, you can't say that. If you have to remain relevant in this industry, right, wherever you are, whatever organization you work for, if you need Lakshmi, and he's from Lakshmi, right? So if you need Lakshmi practically, Lakshmi comes to those who are able to solve the problems, right? More Lakshmi comes to those who solve the problems better, right? So we are paid to solve the problems. Bigger the problem is, more the Lakshmi is. It's very, very simple, right? If you look at the CEO as a word, and I'm coming to that, Chief Executive Officer. What is the lowest position in an organization? Officer. And the position above officer is executive, right? So we manage both the roles actually as Chief Executive Officers, right? Our job is to open the shutter every day and close down the shutter in the evening, right? That's what we do. And then obviously in that entire process, as you rightly mentioned, CapEx has to be ours. It has to remain ours. There is no other option. We can't say that, okay, we will not be doing that. But then yes, use it as a tool, learn it as a tool. Keep on learning about technology day in, day out, because technology is changing. If you don't change with time, you'll be out of the market automatically. So right time for you to understand one thing, that we have to live with it, whether we like it or not. Yeah,
Yeah, well said. Maybe I'll ask you one question and maybe then we'll see whether we can start Q&A. So you spoke briefly about culture. So because what they say is culture eats strategy for lunch, because culture is so important. So how do you foster a culture that supports work-life balance? And maybe anyone can also add from the other panelists, and then maybe we get ahead.
I think I touched on this point earlier. I think from my experience, I have been working and I led teams, and now, of course, the new hat over the last few years. I think from a CEO perspective, any culture is always top down. So so I always, when I started my career, I always would think, ये CEOs करते क्या है? What is his vision and mission statement? I would never, understand it but now, and as I grew through the ranks, I think it's very important. So I think it's what the top boss, his thought process, it percolates down as a culture to every department, and then, of course, another mistake that a lot of people do, and we always try to undo. We always try to get clones. So we try to, in terms of culture, I've not seen too many senior leadership get people from a diverse skill set point of view or thinking. So I think if all these things can be taken care of, and again, if it's driven top down, I think so. If a CEO actually wants a work-life balance in his culture, it can't happen that one division will work in isolation. And it's also true from a reverse perspective. So I think this culture is so it can intermingle. So you can always say the CEO or the board will decide the strategy and everything. But I think this is very much a top-down thing and the responsibility of the leadership.
And it doesn't matter whether it's a startup or an established company.
Of course, in an established company, the layers are much more wider. But again, most of the organizations, whether it's any of the leading corporates, family run, typically you again have, and then there are these examples you can speak of, and that's when a lot of times a family run business will get in a a CEO who will professionally run things a bit differently from the company culture, and then there's conflict. So I think finally it's that equivalent of power. I think so again it's going to be top down, and those 3-4 people at the helm who will decide this and percolate it down. So whether it's a startup or a large corporate, that's my view.
Yeah. And I think you well said. If it is a startup, then there maybe it's a promoter-owned company or an MNC. So you had both. So maybe you can add, and then both of you can also.
Sanjay said it well. So it has to start at the top. I truly believe the simple lens is people listen to what you say, but they see what you do. In the chemical industry, safety is top of my mind. And the simplest thing is, if you're walking down the stairs, you hold the handrail. It starts with me. Right? If you are sitting into a car, and for some very weird reason, when I come back home in India, people believe if they sit behind, they should not wear the seatbelt, including my mother for some weird reason. It's nonsensical, right? Just do it. So intuitively, so that's that. This culture, it's not like a switch putting it on and off, right? So it starts. It's a change management journey. So, and you need to be very clear that there are going to be, when you start that journey, there are going to be certain people who will, take the charge. They said, we believe in this, we do this. There's going to be 15 to 20% of the organization, I don't want to do anything with this. And there's going to be about 50, 60% of your organization, okay, let's see how this goes. Right? So you need to have those, first and foremost, get those fence sitters onto the converted. So you're going to have 20% of the organization converted, get your fence sitters to the converted, and most likely the 15 to 20% who believe they are decliners, they most likely are out of your organization. Let's also be clear. Because that's very corrosive. If you're trying to make cultural change, and you'll have somebody who's always being critical about it, with good or bad reasons, right? You just need to part ways with them. That's my guess. Ashok?
Yeah. So culture. Wow. It's like, I'll put it a little differently in a different context, but you'll get the sense. Culture is what, your office is doing when you are not there. That's, if you are there and then they are being attentive and they are coming in time and going in time, or maybe putting that output, it's not the culture. It's when you are not there and they are doing it on their own, or they have found the ways to do the things, and that's the real culture. What is the culture of a place? You find out when the big man is not there, and then you know what is the culture of that place. If big man is not there and it is a sabji market, then you know that is the culture of that place, right? Because that has to be imbibed, and that's where some of people like us make a mistake. We are, and how do we sort it out? We sort it out by having those communications. There is a buzzword called town hall meetings and all that. But apart from town hall meetings, also you need to have those smaller group meetings, step down meetings where you're asking people to come to you and without fear of favor, just listen to them. Many times at our position, one of the bad habits we get into is that we stop listening. That's one of the biggest mistakes which we do. And again, he talked about the clone piece. And I'm actually telling you that's a very important piece. We need to hire people or have people around who come with the skill set which we just don't have, right? They have to also complement you, right? Not always what you are, they also do that. But that is very comforting, you know, everybody is just like this, very comforting. But as a CEO, what do? You also ensure that you are not you don't fall into that comfort zone trap yourself. And you keep doing that for the others also, you know, you don't, somebody find that a group is falling into a comfort zone, you create a disturbance, right? You do that. Sometimes, but for the culture, let me just also tell you one more thing, which I have always seen. Now I've worked in, started with the private sector, then went to a public sector, then to a SBI, which is a public sector, they say, but it is a unique character, and a private sector bank, Axis Bank, then IDBI, which from private was public, had become private in the sense in the RBI books, because the shareholding from government went to the LIC. That's how I got hired. And then now this is a market infrastructure institution where I am being controlled by the regulators and owned by the 5 MIIs of the country. Each of these stages I have realized that there is an overarching culture, but then there are any number of offices, and each office also will have its own culture. So we have to be very mindful of those dynamics, and again, keep listening, keep talking to people, you will figure out what's happening, and do intervene wherever required. One of the things which I used to do in Axis, and Arun will know, I'll do a lot of these exercises with the teams, where they will be talking. So one of my favorite exercise used to be, you know, okay, so it's a team, and then I'll say, okay, so you X, you're reporting to Y. Oh, just tell us about Y. Okay, then, you know, so because it's an audience like this, they'll say, okay, 5 good things about Y. Okay, fine. So I'll be counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'll say, okay, now please tell Y what 5 things he should improve or she should improve. Now that's where you will get a problem, you know. So I used to say, no, if you have to say 5 good things, you have to also say 5 things which require, I don't say 5 bad things, but 5 things which will require improvement. Not only that, one more exercise which I did, and I think that it worked well. In March, so 31st March is the appraisal time. So in March, I'll send a mail to all my team members. I'll ask them to tell me, you know, what I have done well, not so well, bad, what they would want me to change. And I'll then after that go through that, and I'll have discussion around it. And this I used to tell them that please don't be afraid, but then you have to create that culture where they are opening up and they're telling you things. It's not easy. It's not easy. So there were some kind of HR exercises where they will do that 360-degree evaluation. And this is a life lesson I'm telling you. Please listen to me this very carefully. 360-degree evaluation. So your bosses, your colleagues from other departments, your juniors, and your vendors and suppliers, and all of them, they will take the report, and one report will come to you. It just so happened this report was on my table in the home, and I just showed my wife, and she started reading. Arey, tum to mere se pooch lete, ye to sab main tumhe bata deti. So I'm telling you, please always listen to your spouse, because your spouse may ignore your hundreds of things, but she or he will know in and out about you. And if you really want to learn about you, please start listening to your spouse. As a first lesson I'm telling you, once you get married, it doesn't matter whether it's husband or wife, you have to listen and you will learn. And if you get into that openness, you don't need any management consultant to tell you what to do, how to improve. Your wife or your husband, okay, let me say in my sense, your wife will be absolutely ruthless to tell you what's wrong. And if you get into that stage where you have the teenagers with you as your children, and they are still talking to you, because as a teenager there'll be rooms will be always locked. They'll be very brutal in their assessment about you. Please listen to them, because that is a new generation. That is a generation with whom you are dealing now in your office. Because the way they are thinking is what you have to see, oh, that is how my staff is thinking. My days are, my mindset is still 40 years back. So just a few points I thought I'll give you.
Thank you, Kishan. Great words of wisdom.
It comes from 40 years. Okay. For me, culture is me, myself, and my team. I think we are the ones who actually create that culture. It doesn't come from anywhere else. In fact, it is said that become a leader which you wanted to see your leader when you were young. Yeah, if you're able to create that kind of an aura, if you're able to create that kind of opportunity for your teams, then nothing would be difficult for you. And you should always be ready to fold your sleeves, right? And then get inside the car or below the car or get your hands dirty. It doesn't matter. But then it is really very important for you to walk the talk. Culture, again, is not about leading the organization. It is about being in the back and seeing people that how they are performing. Because for me, if I'm leading from the back, I think at least I know what is happening within the organization rather than leading from the front. Because it's very easy to lead from the front, but then your back is in the front of your team, yeah, which becomes a bigger challenge. So it is really very important for us to lead from the back when we are able to see everyone, how they are working, whatever they are doing. And then you have to trust. Trust your people, trust your instincts, trust your gut feeling. That's really very important. Gut feeling tells you a lot of things when you start working. Most of the decisions that we take are not based on the management books that we have read. These are because of the gut feeling that we have, that yes, this will go right, this might go wrong, or whatever. And I'll tell you that if you feel that something is going to get wrong, mind you, it will definitely get wrong. Yeah, it will definitely get wrong. Nobody can stop it. So it is really very important for us to keep on thinking about it. And the most important thing is that always remember, life is a journey. Organizations are also like a journey, right? And the time you reach the destination, then all the fun, enjoyment, everything is over. Till the time it's a journey you enjoy. Yeah, so keep on enjoying the journey. Keep on enjoying the culture that you create. Enjoy with people. And as we were talking about maintaining a work-life balance, it is not about you sitting every day for 8 hours in the office. I'll tell you, people who sit for 8 hours, actually productive hours are only 2. Yeah, not more than 2. Only 2 hours are the productive hours. So it's better because see what happens is you reach the office at 9 o'clock. By the time it is 11, you're thinking about a tea break. You go down, 30 minutes, sutta break and tea break, and then you come back. Again, work for 1 hour, and then go back for a lunch break. Lunch breaks are normally longer, 2 hours. Then you come back, and again a chai break, and then you're home.
And sir, I was just going to say that the productive hours are the lunch hours and the sutta breaks.
Probably that is the most productive hours. Right, so it is really very important for us to understand that yes, if we trust people, right, that they will deliver on what has been asked for, then you are not worried about whether they work for 90 hours or 100 hours or 9 hours. Doesn't matter. It is more about whether they are passionate towards the work that you want them to work on, whether they are aligned to the vision that you have within the organization. If everything is aligned, if people are passionate, if people are clear in their direction, nobody can go wrong. And from there only the culture comes, and it can be driven by us. From here, by our people, and together we'll be able to make it a great success as an organization. So that's what I believe in. I trust people till the time they don't break your trust. All right? So it is important to trust people from day one till the time they don't break your trust. But then again, you have to give them an opportunity to come back and show that yes, they're trustworthy. And I think this is practically going to help everyone in terms of ensuring that when they get into the organization, one fact, when you pass out and your placements are happening, don't ask for what salary I'm going to get. Don't ask for what is the designation I'm going to get. Ask that what is your organization culture, and you'll get the right answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. Well concluded. So I think we'll open up for Q&A, but before that, a small rapid fire round. Are you game? Very, very brief answers, all of you.
You have a gift hamper?
Yes. But we will decide. depending on your answers. Okay. So in between your deadlines, coffee or sleep? When you are meeting some deadline, coffee or sleep if you want a break?
Sleep.
So I've stopped taking tea, coffee, or whatever. I just snooze, sleep.
Krishan?
I think a sleep and then a black coffee later on.
I would prefer sleep, but it has to be coffee.
Okay. Most productive time of the day?
Evening. Post 6.
Post 6. Ashok?
You wouldn't actually believe it's true, but I think the most productive hour are those hours when you are actually in deep sleep. No, honestly, it's between 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. and when that whole set, you read about the sleep apnea and other things, and that is a time when every thought is being processed in your mind. And to tell you, I have got some life lessons and answers during those hours. It's not a joke. That's when you suddenly say, oh, that it is. That's the most, so that's why please always take care of your good sleep,
They sleep at that time. They go to sleep at that time.
Yeah, because by then you are deep into it.
Okay.
And that's where this whole thing is
Sir,
coming
this
back.
is a CEO Nirvana level.
Yeah. Krishan?
We can't.
Yeah. Krishan. Most productive time.
So for me it is 5:30 a.m. to 6:15, 6:30 a.m. in the morning. When everybody is sleeping, at least I am able to work. And I think I am able to derive a very good productivity out of it.
Best productive. Sanjay?
8:30 in the morning to 11:30.
Yeah, you have that luxury. Yeah. Okay, work from home or work from office?
Bias to work from office.
See, you learn more when you are interacting with people, when you are talking to them. Otherwise, you can work now from anywhere. But if you want to really grow, how will you grow? How will you learn? You learn from others. You learn by interacting, by bouncing off the ideas, by looking at everybody's faces, the reactions. And that's where you get the real sense of the real world. Otherwise, it's a virtual world. You can, I really don't know. Obviously.
To keep it brief.
So for me, work from home and sometimes work from flight. So
Flight, wow.
you
Lounge,
don't have option,
you are
you
saying.
have to, you have to do that.
I just sleep during the flight.
When you are in global organizations,
Yeah,
I think
I
work from home works really well because the timings are such. That's you might have somebody in US, Australia, you're talking to somebody in UK, continuously interacting with them in different time zones. Then work from office doesn't work. So for us, being an international organization, work from home really works well. Yeah.
So two
The
modes.
problem is, in that sense, the other side is always at the office.
Yeah, that's the curse.
So two modes. I think if I have to get something done or I have to really think of something creatively or prepare something, I would prefer work from home in solitude. But yeah, if it's the team work needed there, I have to drive something through the team. It has to be from office. So I would say I don't have a preference for either. It can be both modes on there.
Solitude. Otherwise,
For my own
get
work
it
or
from them. Yeah. Good. So, what advice you would give to your younger self about managing deadlines and missing life? Anything which you would have differently?
Reflecting back, I think so far so good.
So far, so good.
So far so good.
Any regrets, Ashok? Any advice you want to give to your younger self?
No, I would say you really did well.
Well done.
For me, I think my passion has grown with the age, it seems. And what I feel is that I'm growing my passion further. So I think at the younger age, I had some passion. It has multiplied with time. So I would not give an advice. I think it's perfect. That's the kind of journey one has to see, and I'm very happy with that. Yeah.
Great. Sanjay.
I think I'm also quite happy, but yes, I would have started off earlier. If I look back now, I would definitely have started my startup journey earlier.
Yeah, I think startup, yes, you can start at any age, but yes, if you feel so. What would be your dream project if there is no deadline? Anybody? Or I can give another question. Okay, leave it. If you had an extra hour in a day, what you would do? If you had an extra hour in a day, what would you do?
Sleep certainly. If I have to prioritize, my second priority would be, as was nicely said, my wife is my greatest critic. So she says, get a bloody hobby. So I have started reading books. So if I've got an additional hour in a day, if I don't sleep, it will be reading.
Ashok ji. Extra hour.
I mean, I squeeze my extra hour within those 24 hours.
I think it is about creating that 25th hour, which is not an easy job. It's a very difficult one. But then yes, for me, I would either like to listen to music or sing if possible. Yeah.
Sing.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
Hidden talents coming out. Yes, Sanjay.
It would be sleep for me, sure. No other choice.
Everybody is sleep deprived. I thought only students tell me that. Okay, maybe one more. Okay. What legacy you hope to leave in terms of promoting work-life balance in your organization? What would people say about you?
I think it's not about me. I think I want people to get up on Mondays and say, I'm creating impact. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, are they looking forward to coming? I mean, otherwise it's no fun. And probably, frankly, I don't want to leave any legacy. I want anybody who comes, please start fresh from zero. I mean, just absolutely. I mean,
You're fine with that.
Honestly.
I think creating a legacy is important in my view, and what I have seen with my team is that at least they are very happy coming to the office on Monday. There are no Monday blues, yeah, and that's what I have seen, and they have. I think this is the feedback which I have received from them. So I think yeah, we are on the right track in that way. Yeah.
I think I would want my work legacy to continue, but in terms of the culture, it will be the whoever takes over from me. Probably at some level, I'll always want, if the current team is going to be there, they should be treated in the certain way in which I have worked with them. But it will be his call. I can't impose that.
Yeah, very well said. Yeah, please.
When I started my journey with BSF in Germany, we were about 60 polymer technologists, and our senior vice president called all of us in a room. We were about 55 Germans. We were 5 foreigners. There was me, an Indian. There was a Brazilian lady, a Russian, I still distinctly remember this, a Spanish and an American in the room. And then he said, what value did you add today? He asked all of us. I was in my first year. I had never questioned it in that way. Then he looked at the 5 of us. He said, guys, the Germans here love BASF because either they are second generation, their parents have worked here, or they live in a 50-kilometer radius. You 5 have left everything that means something to you to be here. So this question is what you need to answer, also for the others, but even more deeply. So and his ask for us is, what value did you add today, and what value did the organization add to you? And he said, and even today, I must confess, I keep asking that question. Not on a daily basis, but it's great to have that pulse check, because then you know where your true north is.
I think great end to the rapid fire. So do they get a hamper? Yes. Wow. So let's take some questions.
Good evening, panelists. I think this was a very fantastic panel discussion that we had on this topic. So, of course, the question is to all of you, and a couple of them actually, but I'll restrict it to 1 or 2. So, we normally said, and there's some research already done, people don't leave organizations, they leave their bosses. And for whatever reasons, I mean but it's mainly to do with the culture again. So how do you deal with that? That is one. And I think Krishnan sir, at the beginning, you made a statement that you should not compare yourselves, with one another as you grow up. But unfortunately, from childhood, बोलते हैं ना उसका बच्चा ये कर रहा है, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? So unfortunately, it starts from there itself. That's exactly what it is. So your thoughts on this?
For me, if I tell you that, okay, Reliance Industries Limited, do you think the building in which they sit is the place for people to reckon with that this is Reliance? No. Reliance is made of the people who are working for Reliance, right? Our organization is made of people who work for us. So it is really very important for us to ensure that as leaders, we are people leader. We are not the organization's leader, or we are not a leader for the machines which are there in the organization. We are with them, and we have to play with them. See, a leader is nothing but like a captain. He has to also play and go to the ground and play his or her own innings, right? So that's really very important, that you have to go to the ground, play, and maybe score the highest to ensure that the train moves ahead, right? So if you're the engine, you have to ensure that the rest of the train is moving with you, and for that, the engine has to take a lot of heat, right? It's not easy, right? The coaches are AC, but the engine goes through a lot of trouble, right? A lot of heat. He has to shield the team. Creating that shield, as Ashokji was mentioning, it is really very important as leaders for you to shield your team whenever there is a requirement. So once you're able to do that, then people trust you. They remain with you. In case you leave, they go along with you. And that's what I've seen. I have seen a lot of leaders taking their teams along with them. People don't leave people, they actually leave organizations. That's the truth. Yeah, and we have to live with that. There's no other option.
So there is a other side to it. Probably this is the private sector. Now let's look at a public sector or government job. So for the government job, we always used to say, because I have worked in government sector also, we used to say, if that you're not getting along with the boss, so just lie low, because either you will get transferred in a year or the boss will get transferred in a year. So it's only a year or two out of that 40-year, 35-year service. So just.
I think to answer your question on the leadership front, I think there are again two answers. See, one is when I was in sales myself, in my working days, or even in businesses, which I have understood very well. I think one has to lead by example, and control or be part of any grassroots level work that is happening. That's when your team will look up to you. So that's one level of managing. However, as I have diversified, so now today my e-commerce business, tech is something which doesn't come naturally to me. However, you need to have tech talent, you need to manage them, you need to retain them. There you can't lead by example. So there I think it's more in terms of certain generic management, in terms of motivating them, showing them the larger picture. So yes, I think that aspect also will change on the way your business is or your role is.
Good evening, everyone. Kanesh Kagarwal this side. So thank you so much for everyone for coming here and enlightening us. So as a member of this committee, guest lectures committee, we have been working for so many days, and I'm not tired so far because I'm loving doing my job, what I'm doing here. So as Ashok sir mentioned, that if you are loving your job, then you don't feel tired, right? So my question is that when it comes to company, you measure the growth, you measure the revenue, or you see other metrics to measure the growth of the company. But when it comes to personal level and individually, how do you measure whether you are winning your role actually or not? So if anyone of you
let me take this up. Normally I tell this to my team that you should look at yourself in the mirror today, and 1 year later, again go back to the same mirror and see yourself. If you see that you have done something different, something positive, then you're growing, you're learning. And it's practically important for us to keep on learning, as I was mentioning initially also, that when you learn, then you see that change in yourself. If you see that, okay, you were the same person, right? You are the same person you were, say, a year back, then you have not grown. So it's really very important for you to look at the mirror and introspect yourself. I think most of us, we forget that we have changed. Because in the process of doing things, like for example, when you joined KJ Somaiya Institute of Management Studies, right? So you're in the fourth term, or what is your semester?
Yeah, I'm in the final year, sir.
Final year, right? So say 2 years back when you started your course here, and within the 2 years you have transformed. I'm sure you'll see a different Kanishk from what the Kanishk was 2 years back, right? And then 2 years later when I meet you again, I'll see Kanishk 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, I don't know, right? So that's the way in which we need to look at it. And organizations normally, they look at growth, they look at revenue, but they also look at the people change, right? Change in terms of their habits, in terms of their learnings, and the way in which they carry themselves. That's also really very important. And I think all of us, we learn with time, right? When we start, we are different. I'm sure if I look at my own picture a few years back, I'll be different, and today, whatever I am, I've changed, right? And if I don't change, then I'm not the right person to be at this seat. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Can I just, sorry sir, but in a lighter tone, at our age when somebody meets us after ages and say, Ashok, you haven't changed, I take it as a compliment.
I think, Kanishk, when you are starting your career now, depending again on the role that you will be taking up. See, if it's a revenue generating role or a sales role, it's anyway the numbers are out there. If it's a non-sales role, and this is something which I tell my team when they come for their appraisal, a lot of times, people in the back end, they'll be doing their work, but they will not be seeing the larger picture. So, at the end of the day, if, while you're getting appraised, you should go up to your boss and, probably be able to link your work to the revenue that you're contributing to the company. If you get that, and you can actually sort of prove it to your boss, I think they will not let go of you, and you'll get that growth. This is my mantra. I have seen the numbers finally speak. Most people won't, look at that at the evaluation time. They'll be very subjective. But somewhere, especially for non-sales roles, try to find from your peers or your teams what is the revenue linkage. I think that will help you.
Tanish, so if I heard you, you were asking, how are we reflecting upon ourselves, right? So for me, it's very simple. What's the value I add, or perceived to add, and how does the organization view it? And one great way, Ashok gave a great example. The only tweak I make to that is I don't wait for the year end. So, we are all as not only CEOs, all of us, now we are leading a committee. There'll be certain colleagues in the committee may agree to your suggestions, others may not. The question is, there is an intuitive way of taking a decision, and there's an emotional angle. So normally when you're, especially in tedious conversations, it depends. I think I'm more Germanized, so I'm very factual, and I'm very numbers driven, right? But I don't look at the emotional element. So sometimes I then meet up with the colleague whom I've had this very tedious conversation with, is, give me a feedback. And I ask him there and then, because if you wait for 6 months, 9 months, the moment is left. So I think that's also a good way to reflect, not to change yourself as a personality, because then you are not genuine, right? But just to reflect, if you were to do it again, what would you subtly change? What would you be cognizant about? And I think that's been an important reflection coming home for me now in the Indian context, where just being, it depends, especially in Lakshmi, in a BSF, I can be very brutal. I said, this is how it is done, that's it. But here, there is an emotional layer which I need to be cognizant about. So getting that feedback is also great value for me. But again, as Ashok said, you need to create that trust that people do give you this feedback.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
For that, taking feedback is also very important. Giving feedback is very easy. Right? Taking feedback is the toughest thing.
Here the lens was asking for seeking the feedback.
Correct.
Good evening, panel. My name is Isha Pujari. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for being here today and sharing your experience with us. I have two questions. One is, as leaders, I think what is the one thing we'd have to keep in mind while formulating policies for our organizations when we look at, work-life balance and not missing out on life? And secondly, because we have an all-male panel, what is your views on paternity leave? And would you have liked the opportunity to have that when you were in your earlier years?
Just an easy answer. In Germany, where it was, I had the option. So that's why my wife actually started working when our daughter was 2, and that entire onus of responsibility was on me to take care of her. And I can tell you that's been, if I have to reflect back, that's been the best quality of time I've had with my daughter. She's today in university, she's no longer with us, but that's what I reflect back. So even changing her diapers, however shitty it was at that point in time, I think that's what gives me great quality, if I have to reflect back. So I was privileged enough to be in that system where there was that understanding. And I think from a policy lens, clearly when you talk about work-life balance, and also now, recently, I'll give you a very tangible example. Recently we started a new innovation campus, and this is in Navi Mumbai. Now, you have to take many times an 80-20 lens. For 80% of the colleagues who were living in Thane, Navi Mumbai, Kharghar, it worked out well. And for 20% of the colleagues who were in Andheri and that belt, certainly it's very painful to travel all the way. So at sort of at enterprise level, you will never get it right. But my lens is you need to take an 80-20 and think what's good for the enterprise.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you talked about the parental leave. So in my organization, we do have, and so we are blessed that some of them have availed that paternity leave. But I wish, I also had that leave at that particular point of time. But despite that, but you do share those responsibilities, because my mom was a teacher. She worked, and my wife works now. My sister works now. My daughter is now working. So, touch wood, in our family, the women have worked. And you observe, and you see that you have to share those responsibilities. But of course, if you have that leave for a particular period of time, but then if you want to find a way, you will always find a way to be there for your family.
So because in the conversation of work-life balance, support and privilege play a very big role. So I think that support that the organization provides is something that we'd like to look upon, and how they create that value for their employees.
The only lens I have, which I have not seen completely work well, especially, so I was in Hong Kong during the entire COVID period, right? And China, as you guys have heard a different story. It's when the employees think of it as an entitlement. It's a privilege, it's not an entitlement. And you're hearing it from all of us, right? There are going to be times when you need to stretch yourself. And there were so awkward times when I used to visit again our head office. All the senior executives used to be there, but the secretary of the department used to say, I'm working from home, which is nonsensical, in my opinion, because I speak German, I've lived there, so I know how to navigate. But there were my counterparts from North America, South America, who did not know that. But not having secretarial support at that point of time, saying I'm working from home, for me, it just does not suit well. So I think there's a thin line here, but I think the good employees will not misuse it, but they should also not consider this as an entitlement. They feel they should earn it.
Actually, if I can take a, so public sector bank, okay, so I was privileged to set up a computer center way back. So I worked in COBOL, I don't know whether you know, and then Unified eBase and all. So I'm not an engineer, by the way, I'm just a science graduate in that sense. But so there was somebody with us, so clerical cadre, clerical cadre unionized and everything. So this particular boy, very good, very smart, something actually, so that day we had to give certain reports which had to reach the local head office in Bhopal. And so I said, boss, we need your help. So he showed me time, like it's 6:07. He said, boss, 5:30 ho gaya. I said, fine, please. But then I just told him one thing, boss, आपने तो मुझे अभी घड़ी दिखाई है, but as your boss, मैं आपको सुबह से शाम तक घड़ी दिखाऊंगा. So, I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that sense of entitlement. Employees also have to at times understand what is the larger picture. That larger picture thing came up. If you're not aligning yourself, then maybe I couldn't have done anything in a public sector against that boy, But he understood. Because I told him that every day then, because I come first, like opening the shutter. I've opened the shutter throughout my life in so many places actually, which is a fact. So opening the shutter means also open the lock and all. And opening the shutter is because in changing works, when I started my career as a commercial officer trainee, I was in materials department. I was in stores. If somebody has visited a factory, well, you know, So I was actually in stores as a commercial officer trainee. So my first job used to be to open the shutter. So the point I'm trying to make is, this is where things are. These don't have to feel entitled. It's a privilege. You are part of creating something. Be grateful. So that one word, gratitude, we are all listening. I'm always very grateful. I told you that I'm very grateful to the power that allowed me to do this job, right? So that gratitude, if you are having sense of gratitude, you will succeed. Don't worry.
Good evening, sir. My name is Rupa.
Okay, 3 hands we saw. 1, 2, 3. So 3 questions we'll take.
Sir, my question is directed to Krishan, sir, but I would love to hear from all of you. I got to know that it was your birthday yesterday. So, speaking of work-life balance, how did you celebrate it, sir?
Okay, I celebrated the same in the flight. So, I told you, work from flights. But then, yes, see, sometimes it happens, you can't do much. But then, look at the way in which people work in the hotel industry, airline industry, and the retail industry. They always work on the holidays only. Yeah, because those are the days when they get the highest amount of sale. In fact, if you look at the airline, people celebrate their Diwali at 37,000 feet. You look at the hotels, yeah, they celebrate their Diwali with you. Right? So, it doesn't matter. You should be prepared for such situations. But what is really important is that wherever you are, whatever you do, you need to enjoy yourself. Yeah.
Belated happy birthday. Anything to eat? I'm lactose intolerant. Okay. You have the mic? Yeah, so that boy there and this girl there. Yeah. Yes, please.
Hello, sir. My name is Payal Chaurishya. Thank you for the wonderful session. So as a young MBA student, so I believe in giving all to my work, even though I have to sacrifice some of my personal life. So, what are your opinion on this? And as your experience, I would love to hear your perspective on this.
My lens is the slight tweak. Don't look at you sacrificing your personal thing. That's not the thesis. I think you're learning. You're creating value for yourself, and ideally, if you join the right organization, that organization will value what you're doing. And that's where the fun is, and that's what you're hearing from all of us in different contexts.
Good evening, panel. My name is Akshat Agarwal. Thank you for the fair opportunity. So here I have at least 100 plus years of corporate experience. We've been talking about the right question, ask the right question, leaders ask the right question, all about this. But what should be the transformation journey or the process that a person should develop in order to ask this right question? Because there can't be a standard right question to everything. So how should a person, like, as we are all young MBA aspirants, how should we get that thought, to develop in ourselves?
Okay, what's your name, you said?
Akshat Agarwal, sir.
Akshat, see, probing is a very strong skill, which is really very important, but it comes from listening. Yeah, probing cannot be done if you don't listen. So what is really very important is that, first of all, you need to listen to what the other person wants to say, right? Instead of you speaking first. And we as leaders and we as people who work in the industry, we have a problem. Once you start speaking, it's very difficult for you to sit in the audience. Yeah, it's really very tough, right? The way in which you have been sitting for last so many hours, I can tell you that I think our patience levels have already gone down. Yeah, and it's really tough. So I think you guys are doing a phenomenal job, and you should clap for yourself that you are actually listening to us for so many years, right? So that's really very important. The second thing is that once you have understood how to listen, then you have to ask questions based on the reality. See, when you listen, the other person is able to open their heart, right? And then you go ahead and ask the right questions. Because if you have to come up with a good solution, the solution should not be given by you ever. Good leaders never provide solutions. They always make their team members find out the right solution. And this can come only through asking the right questions. It can never come out of anything else.
To augment on that, I think you need to be also comfortable with saying, I don't know. Because only then will you ask the right question. I think somehow, now I'm painting it white and black and white. I learned this skill after I left India. Because somehow, at least when I was growing up and then when I was at university, I was very nervous that I need to know everything. And I hesitated, I did not know. But the first thing I learned when I left was, I'm comfortable, I don't know, but I'll be curious enough to go and check out, or speak to experts, or listen in. Yeah? And that's where you build that skill.
Can I just add to that? So, in my employees, what I see. So, when I ask a question, and whether right or wrong, forget about it, and they say, I don't know. But I don't want a full stop there. I want them to say, and probably this is a lesson for all of you, I'll figure it out and I'll come back. Most of the time, you get that answer, I don't know, sir. And then the boy or girl is off. And I say, okay, that's not the answer I've ever given to my boss. If I've said I don't know, I said I don't know, but let me come back, I'll figure it out. See, they are asking for two reasons. One, they know it and they want to test you. This is one. They actually don't know. So that's why they're asking you. Can you be part of that solution? Can you actually find some answer to that and tell your colleagues or your boss, this is just a point, remember it.
Thank you Ashok. I think we can go on and on, but I think time doesn't permit that. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you for, and I think it's a journey, and we have to take every step, and over a period of time I think we would achieve work-life balance, and maybe they can talk about it, you people can talk about it in social media, you write very good, so maybe ask questions, tag us, you can continue to do that. Yes, Paras.
Thank you, sir. I would request Alston sir and Rashmi ma'am to present special gift hampers as tokens of our appreciation to our distinguished panelists.
Ask for it, but we were ready. No, it's joking. They have already done that. Yeah. Yes.
We all do it, or do we do it? Okay. Thank you for the clarification. So thankful. I've actually never got a hamper. Yes, of course. Please send us the photos and social media.
Now we would request Chirag Kukreja from Team Melange for a vote of thanks.
So, as we come to the end of what has been an incredibly insightful and thought-provoking session, we would like to reflect on what this session actually represents. Melange 2025 has begun on a strong note, setting the stage for thought-provoking discussions that challenge norms and inspire change. Centered around the theme, evolution of paradigms. The challenge, Melange highlights the transformative shifts shaping the future of leadership and work. Today's conclave perfectly aligns with this vision, exploring how industry leaders navigate the balance between ambition and well-being, meeting deadlines without missing life. The CEO Conclave stands as a shining example of how Melange extends beyond cultural celebrations to foster intellectual dialogue, bringing together industry leaders and future change makers on a common platform. Through this collaboration with the Guest Lectures Committee, Melange continues to evolve as a festival that not only showcases talent and creativity, but also nurtures thought leadership and industry engagement at KGSIM. As we bring this insightful session on meeting deadlines without missing life to a close, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed panelists, Mr. Krishan Mishra, Dr. Rajan Venkatesh, Mr. Ashok Gautam, and Mr. Sanjay Guha. Your insightful perspectives, practical guidance, and real-world examples have provided us with a profound understanding of overcoming challenges and have greatly enriched our discussion today. I would like to take a moment to express our sincere gratitude to our moderator, Professor Arun Thukral. We are immensely grateful for all the thoughtful way he steered today's discussion. We also extend our appreciation to Mr. Ralston Rajvedya for his invaluable support in shaping the larger vision of Melange, a festival that fosters insightful dialogue, meaningful collaboration, and the evolution of ideas. I would like to call Agrima to bring a formal close to the event.
Thank you, Sarab. So I would also like to extend our thanks to Meenal ma'am, the technical team, and the support staff for ensuring the success of the event with their remarkable efforts. Furthermore, I want to acknowledge the continuous support of the PR and Branding Committee. I would also like to acknowledge all the students and the faculty members who joined us today. Your presence, enthusiasm, and active participation truly made this session vibrant and meaningful. We would now stop the live stream. I would now request our faculty team to please come on stage for a photograph, and followed by